Please welcome this evening's guest moderator, Nigel Smith from IndieWire, and tonight's guests, Zoe Kazan, Stephen Berger, Robin Schorr, and Jenée LaMarque.
Welcome, everyone.
Hey, dudes.
Hey.
So many of you came out from Los Angeles for tonight's premiere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is anybody in the audience going to be seeing the film tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo!
Awesome. So why don't we first have you, the director, give us a little rundown, since you actually wrote the screenplay, of what the film's about, since we didn't have a trailer to share with everyone here.
Sure, yeah. We just finished post like this last Sunday, so apologies for not having the trailer. But basically, it's a story. It's a sort of a universal story about a wallflower. Her name is Laurel, who has an identical twin sister, Audrey, who's more of like the life of the party and the titular pretty one. And through a series of tragic events, Laurel gets the opportunity to take over her sister's identity. And through the process of pretending to be her sister, she sort of learns more about herself, who she is, who she wants to be, and she falls in love with a character named Basil, who's played by Jake Johnson in the movie, and you'll see a clip later with Jake and Zoe. Zoe plays both parts, both sisters, identical twins. So it was a very big, challenging, juicy role for her, and so yeah, it's a movie about identity, and I think it's a very uplifting tale of someone coming out of their shell for the first time and seizing life.
People listening to this probably, draw parallels to like films like The Parent Trap, but watching it, it's a really original story. Can you talk a bit about the inspiration behind it and, what made you dream up this plot?
Sure. There's two kind of things that happened. One is I lost someone very close to me in my early 20s. He had been my best friend. We had dated, and he's the reason why I started writing. And when he died, when he was like on his deathbed, he basically was like, "I really believe in you, and I really think you're a great artist." And I felt like this responsibility to go out and make something meaningful out of my life, because not everyone has the opportunity to do that. Sometimes life gets cut short and you don't know what's going to happen. And then there's also, I came across this book that was like firsthand accounts of twins who had lost their twin. And I just immediately started crying because these stories were so moving and emotional. And I was like, oh, a movie's never been made about this subject. And I was like, I want to do something that's like this, except for it has to be a comedy, because I don't really, that's just my sensibility, and I just love dark comedies. I love movies like Lars and the Real Girl and Little Miss Sunshine and things like that kind of like make you laugh and make you cry, and kind of the whole gamut of the movie-going experience. So that's sort of, two things kind of came together.
So can you talk about the comedy aspect of the film? Because it is, to my mind, a kind of heartwarming story in the end, but it deals with huge tragedy. How did you all kind of manage to balance that so delicately and pull it off like you do?
Well, I think it comes down to there being a kind of groundedness to the movie, and that comes through, I think, through casting and through communicating in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. And Zoe's a very grounded and very naturally funny person, so and same goes for Jake and Ron Livingston, who's also in the movie. So I think it's a lot had to do with getting on the same page, had to do with picking the right actors, I think. Yeah.
So how did Zoe come on the project?
I auditioned the old-fashioned way.
Really?
Yep, casting couch all the way. I'm kidding. I did audition. There was no casting couch. There were like chairs.
We were sitting on a couch.
Oh yeah, you were.
Yes, yeah.
I wasn't. Jenée had been auditioning with her producers, Robin and Stephen.
I'm going to say that, a lot of actresses were very attracted to this script. It was a really special script, and because the role has this, very challenging but exciting opportunity to play two parts, we got a lot of interest in the role, and it was a long process. We met and read a lot of really amazing actors, and it was a challenging decision, really. And then the minute we had Zoe come in, it was an obvious decision, and
Oh,
we were
yeah.
so grateful because it made it easy. We knew
Oh,
she was
yeah.
the one.
I was like tortured, but sorry, go ahead,
No,
Steve.
it was one of those moments that you always hear about when somebody comes in and reads for you, and you just feel like the character's in front of you. And we immediately had that when Zoe read.
Oh, yeah.
And she just really understood the beauty and the nuance between these two sisters, and just nailed it right away. And she kind of chose us. Really, it was beautiful.
Thanks, guys.
Steven and I like looked at each other. We just made eye contact after
Yeah.
she read, and it was just like, oh, well, that was easy.
We
There
didn't
she
have to.
is.
We didn't even have to say
Yeah.
anything. We just
Yeah.
knew. Yeah.
And
That's so
regarding
nice.
that too, it was such a, it's a really challenging thing to do. I don't even think, maybe you, Jenée, maybe you fully appreciated that, but before production, we knew one of the hardest things would be, the twin part of this movie. But I didn't ever really fully appreciate how challenging that was going to be for the actor, because to keep it all in your head, to fully embody these two completely different characters and do it on a dime, we were moving fast. It's a low budget film. And I honestly, we all kept saying to each other, I don't know how we would have ever done it without you, Zoe, because she was excellent every take, and she knew who she was, and it was demanding. It was really a tall order.
Well, that's really nice. I just wanted to, on that, I know I'm going to jump the gun here. I just wanted to talk for a second because I think it's like really interesting, and we're in the Apple store right now, so technology. But the process of making a film where part of the film you have one actor playing two people, it's really interesting. And can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, yeah.
At a
I was gonna get onto
technical
that.
level,
Go
because
nuts.
I found it so difficult technically, and made me a better actor to have to be so precise technically. But can we talk a little bit about that? Yeah. About what it entails?
Well, how did you pull it off? Who did you have stand in, for...
Yeah, we auditioned for body doubles. We had to have
Really?
someone that was her same height, same size, same coloring, and someone that hopefully could act, because even though, you want to have someone that you can connect with across that line that we then created after, in post-production. Go ahead.
So you shoot like a stable master shot of the scene that's locked off.
Clean plate, it's called. Yeah.
And it can't be moved because it has to look the same on both sides. And if you have, imagine a transparency over a picture. If you have something moving across camera, you can't have it moving in both pictures. You can only have it moving in one picture. Otherwise, it'll get muddy because it's basically two halves of one picture, right? So we would have to shoot that locked off master twice. Once with me in one sister's outfit and wig, and once with me in the other sister's outfit and hair and makeup. And then we would shoot close-ups, over the body double shoulder onto me with her in the wig, and then flip and go the other way with her in the other outfit, and then me in the other.
Right. And
then,
this was all practical on location. We didn't go with green screen. It was kind of a very actually surprisingly traditional approach to doubling. I mean, just like the original Parent Trap.
is it the same way that Haley Mills did it?
I can't say.
Well, yeah, but essentially it ends up kind of the same. So as you can imagine, it took about 3 times as long to shoot a scene as it would traditionally take to shoot the same scene, which was challenging. And Zoe, when she was speaking to the technical things that she had to be doing, it's like she had to be thinking about eye line, and then she had to match her performance, do this math in her head where she was matching her performance, what she had done 2 hours prior to, and then match it to what she was doing.
That was actually the easier half. The hardest part was starting the scene on one, not knowing what you would do, and you sort of had to pre-plan what you'd do in the other characters so that you could react appropriately before you had shot that half.
Right. If you think about it too much, it kind of
It's
blows.
like looking into a mirror, looking to a mirror, looking to a mirror.
And I have to say really quickly that we did have an incredible visual effects team.
Yes.
Who
Oh,
I do want to give
man.
a shout out
Yeah.
to Ryan Urban and his team, because they were incredible and were on set making sure that Zoe knew exactly what she needed to do.
Millions of little robots.
Yeah, what's his company's name?
Millions of little
Oh,
robots.
Millions of Tiny Robots. Is
Millions
one
of
the
Tiny
vendors,
Robots, yeah.
It's a great name though, isn't it?
Well, lucky for you all, the two, twins don't spend that much time together, like the first quarter of the movie or so, right?
Yeah, and then she
That was
dies.
enough.
And then she
It was
passes
enough.
away. It was enough. Would you have taken on the project had, it
I
been a
had
tale
no
of
idea
two
how hard
twins?
it was going to be. I thought about the acting challenge of it. I didn't understand the technical challenge of it.
Yeah.
It was like I got a C in ninth grade geometry. So having to use those skills again was difficult for me.
Well, the challenge that you had to, take on in this movie in many ways kind of reminded me of your amazing performance in Ruby Sparks, because in that film you're taking on multiple personalities, but not at your choice. Can you talk a bit about whether you saw any similarities between the two projects and whether that played a factor into you wanting to take this on? Because she actually wrote Ruby Sparks, which came out last summer.
No, I don't think I was thinking about that. I mean, they feel not actually, in some ways tonally they're similar in that they're both sort of like fairy tales and in that they're both kind of tragicomic. But at a character level, these women feel very different to me as people.
But I do think there's a connection in terms of dealing with the subject of identity, female identity. Yeah.
Yeah. So, why don't we talk about... let's show a scene from the film. We have one more scene to show. So now that clip clearly makes it evident that you nailed down an amazing cast for this film. Can you talk a bit about the fact that this was actually a blacklist script in 2011?
Yeah, 2011, yeah.
And how did that all come about? Did you have to campaign hard to get it on there, or did producers just immediately gravitate towards this original concept?
It's a testament to my manager and agent who worked really hard for me to get me meetings at different companies, and then just I guess it's word of mouth, and also
It was a really special script, and everyone loved it, so word got around.
Dude, do
thanks.
people campaign to get on the blacklist?
I don't know. Well, we were
They
talking
don't
about it
really.
in the green room.
It's more just like you have meetings and if those people vote and then that happens. But
I don't know if you guys are familiar
really
with what we're
campaign.
talking about. Are you
Yeah,
familiar
let's
with the
explain
blacklist?
exactly what the blacklist is. I think we should
There's
have the producers talk
There's
about
sort of
this.
a thing that grew in Hollywood. It's actually done by one guy who's an executive, but he would poll all his friends, all the other executives and people in the film business, mostly agents and executives, I guess, but in a kind of a homegrown kind of way about what their favorite unproduced screenplays were. And that has grown into a thing where now it's almost like you want to pay to be on the blacklist. But people pay a lot of attention
so crazy
to scripts.
to me. That is just crazy.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
it
people do
started-
campaign, but it's not.
It started
so
as an
I didn't
organic thing
campaign.
and has grown into kind of almost a real stamp of pedigree for unproduced screenplays in the film business. And so every year there's a list that comes out, and everyone eagerly anticipates that and quickly snaps up a lot of the scripts that are not,
I
that
thought
don't
it
have
was
a
just
home.
like the best screenplays. I feel like you're telling me there's no Santa Claus. Like
It's not the best. It's technically the most liked.
the most like.
Yeah, not the
Okay.
best. It's not like an award, but it is good.
It's pretty great.
But we were well underway on working on making this into a movie before that was published. Jenée's year, we'll call it Jenée's year of the blacklist, and it was included.
Wonderful. So we're going to open it up to the audience, and if anybody has a question, please just raise your hand, and someone's going to come around with a mic.
Zoe, I think you're brilliant, and it was really exciting to see you on Jimmy Kimmel. Do you plan on writing any more movies?
First of all, I have to thank these guys for letting me go on Jimmy Kimmel because I was shooting this movie when that happened, and they let me out early to go do that, which was very nice. I am writing more. For me, it's always a balancing act. Last year, I shot 4 movies, including this one, and so I didn't have any time to write, which is hard on me because it's a big part of my life. So when I wrapped the last movie that I did last year, I decided to take a couple months to concentrate on my writing. I just finished doing a play here, but besides that, I've just been working on my writing. Yeah.
Plan on doing any television?
Writing?
Writing or performing?
I got to do half a season of Bored to Death a couple years ago.
Never saw
which
it,
was
sorry.
really no, don't worry about it. More people should have seen that show, otherwise it would still be on the air. I really enjoyed doing that, and I think with the right combination of people, of course, there's a lot of exciting work going on TV.
I was wondering if you had to do a lot of research for your character, in terms of looking into a lot of stories about, twins who I'm a twin myself, by the way, and a lot of twins who had lost
Identical
their
or
own-
fraternal?
Fraternal.
It's just, yes, absolutely. I mean, I felt like I had an emotional end to the story. Jenée had written a very emotionally powerful script, and I, through my own personal experiences with loss and with personal experiences of being very close to my sister, I felt like I connected immediately with the script. But you really want to do justice to the particular experience that you're portraying. So Jenée had found these videos by a video artist.
Yeah, and actually, my friend Helen, who's in the audience, sent them to me. She's
Hi,
right
Helen.
there.
Hi, Helen. You helped me so much.
Hiding.
Helen sent Jenée some videos, and Jenée sent them to me, of this artist, Candace Brights, who is a video artist, and she made these videos where she interviewed identical twins in the same location, wearing the same clothes, and interviewed them, asking them the same questions. And she sort of spliced them, edited them next to each other so that you would be looking at it and see both responses. And they're very powerful, and they're long. They're like an hour long each, most of them. And so I watched all of those that she had up on her site, and that was very useful. Just seeing the way two people who look exactly the same genetically can look so different in terms of the way that they and dressed identically can still look so different in terms of the way that they carry themselves, and also what it might be like to have someone who was your mirror image and how that might make you feel. And then Jenée gave me a bunch of books that were incredibly helpful on loss and twin loss in particular, and some psychology books about what happens when you're confronted with your mirror image from birth, and you never go through the mirror stage. In like Lacanian philosophy, there's an idea that like there's a mirror stage in which you as an infant see yourself in the mirror and realize that you're an identity separate from other people, and then the rest of the world becomes real to you. And they think, it's one theorist thinks that identical twins don't go through that process. So all that was really useful and helpful. And then it was just all about going through the script with Jenée and making every moment feel particular and real and particular to my body, which is a weird thing to do. Does that answer your question?
Who do you identify with more out of the two twins?
Good question.
Jenée, who do you identify with more?
I identify probably more with Laurel, but I feel like we talked a lot about this yesterday, how the sisters are sort of two sides of one coin, in the sense that I think it's a lot of that, Laurel's the side that's a little afraid and shut in and afraid to take a chance, but she's also very creative secretly and has a lot of special qualities that nobody can quite see because she's not brave enough to show them. There's that scared person, insecure, and then there's the sort of life of the party, the person that goes out and takes chances and is brave. And so I feel like I've got both of those things inside. I feel like we all do, but I definitely don't ever feel like the pretty one in the way that Audrey does, even though sometimes I feel good about how. Yeah,
I don't know even that Audrey ever feels like the pretty one. I feel like
Yeah.
we talked about this, that I feel like she's done a really excellent job of burying Laurel inside of herself, that she sort of had to kill that side of herself in order to get out of this small town and out of this like oppressive family structure. And I don't know, there's like I think that there have been times in my life where I felt more or less like either side of these people. I was definitely like, they both felt very close to me, and I felt really sad when Audrey died, partially because I felt like she was like fun, and I never get to play the bad girl, so that was sort of fun for me.
Did you shoot all those sequences before you transplanted to? It takes place in L.A., right? Yeah, to L.A.
We were in LA the whole time.
But we
But I mean,
shot
like
the
the,
twin
the
small
stuff
town
at the beginning.
Yeah, we did. We shot all the twin stuff at the beginning.
Okay.
We actually shot almost completely in sequence,
Wow.
which is very rare for a film. And I imagine, Zoe, that it maybe was helpful for you in terms
You
of
know what?
the
It didn't feel like we shot in sequence
We didn't, because we shot 1 and 3 the same week.
because of shooting the third act at the
Right,
same time
right.
as shooting that.
more in sequence than most films, at any rate. Yeah.
It didn't feel like that, but you know what? It never does. I mean,
But you never had to
It's
embody
all-
your dead sibling, midway through the shoot.
Yeah.
No. Once.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's great. That's
We,
great.
actually, the visual effects sequences were, like you said, the most time-consuming, and sadly, I suppose we had this kind of joke on set that we were kind of glad we killed her off early, so that the hair and makeup changes and everything were
Oh,
behind us, and the second
yeah.
half of the shoot was completely breezy comparatively.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine. Yeah.
There were two things on this shoot that were the bane of my existence, and one was that wig.
The wig and,
And the other was
cast.
that
We
cast.
don't make movies
The
with
cast.
wigs. If there are filmmakers in the audience, if you can avoid it, avoid wigs.
And casts.
And cast.
And
You heard it
cast
here.
Killed me.
That wig is so dowdy. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the script
That
it
was
was
my real
like,
hair.
yeah, it was real hair,
It was not my real hair.
but in the script, her hair is like down to her knees.
Yeah.
We couldn't get real
It's
hair
almost
that long.
there.
It's pretty
Like,
long.
to my waist.
Yeah.
They're
it's pretty
very
long.
expensive. They take forever to put on. They're a nightmare. And they're horrible for the actor. I mean, the poor actor has to have their head poked at.
That
like,
cast
for an
was
hour.
worse. The cast was worse. Less expensive, but worse.
Thank you. This is for the director. When you have a challenging scene and you're not getting it, like the actor isn't nailing it, what kind of methods do you use to make sure you get that scene how you want it?
That's a really good question. Well, definitely when that happens, what you want to do is take a deep breath and take a step back, because if it's not sort of getting there, chances are there's some sort of lingering anxiety or something happening with the actors or on set or what's going on around you. So that's the first thing, is to maybe I feel like sometimes that didn't happen a lot on this movie, by the way, but there were times when I would just take an actor aside and just figure out what was going on with them and just sort of regroup on what that moment was trying to do and where the scene was going. And I think more than anything, the most important thing to do was to try to create an atmosphere that felt a little more calm, and then it would just emerge out of that. I don't know, do you remember an instance where that happened?
I remember having one day where I was really frustrated, but I think it had to do with not having enough time on a scene. I just don't remember. It's too long ago.
But I will say that Jenée in particular was really incredible about prioritizing for the scenes and knowing which were really the meatiest and needing to spend the most time with her actors, and those which we could kind of just pick up really quick in between other setups. And she ran a very calm set. And I think that was really a big thing for most filmmakers, is it tends to get very frantic. You have 30 or 40 people running around, all with their own MO. And Jenée just had she created a wonderful energy all around the set.
Also, Jenée was an actress, and so I felt like she knew a lot about, even from our first audition, I felt like she gave great notes and was very attuned to what was going on. So I think that helped you on set.
Yeah, definitely. And I know what it feels like to be on the other side. So, I think that was helpful as well. So taking acting classes, it's good for directors.
My question is to Zoe Kazan. You have a very natural acting skills and very good sense of camera. Are you ready in future for any Bollywood exposures?
What?
Are you ready for the Bollywood films?
Bollywood.
Hollywood.
Bollywood.
That is not what I thought you said.
Yeah, I thought you said body exposure. Okay.
I was like, been there, done that. You know what? I would be completely honest with you. I don't know a lot about Bollywood film. I've seen some musical numbers while sitting in Indian restaurants on TV. But that is the extent of my experience with it. There's, I'm up for anything. I'm game.
Actually, our DP, Polly Morgan, is in India shooting a Bollywood film right now.
Yeah.
in
That's
fact.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad she can't be here, but I'm happy she's working.
So my question, I guess, would be, did you have someone talk to you and say the lines so you can respond to them? Did you find that challenging when you went back and now played the other sister?
Well, we had a very capable actress who was working opposite me that Jenée and the producers cast, who was both my body double in that, like, in scenes where they shot over her shoulder sometimes to fake for the back of my head, and also was there for me as an actor when I was playing half of the scene. It was hard because, no two actors are alike, and even if you have a really talented actor opposite you, you wouldn't perform it the same way. And Jenée was asking her to do more than read the lines. She was asking her to act the scenes with me so that I would, have a good bouncing board. So that was hard sometimes because I felt like I would get at like a totally selfish level, like you get irritated watching someone act it differently than you would act it. Like I get very protective of my characters, and it's so dumb, but you spend a lot of time with them getting ready and preparing, and then you watch somebody else do it in your clothes and your hair, and it's a little bit of an uncanny experience, and then also just like watching that person make choices, and because the camera was on her sometimes, because we were using her body sometimes, having to match her choices, sometimes because we had to match what we had already gotten on film. That was hard sometimes for me, just because you want to be the person making the decisions about what your character is doing, and so I really had to learn to give up a little bit of control, I think, which is hard for me. But it was also like really wonderful to have a real actor opposite you, and not just somebody, saying lines off camera. So, like all collaborations, you're ultimately getting more than you're sacrificing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think it was challenging, and as a director, when those challenges would come up, it wasn't something I had totally anticipated, being an issue. So and then when when Zoe would come to me and say, can you tell her, not to do that because I don't want to be limited in that way, I was like, oh my God, of course. Yeah,
Like,
sorry.
for instance, if Jenée and I are the two versions of me, and I'm my stand-in right now, if she raised her hand up and touched her neck in the shot, then I would have to do that when we got to that part of the scene later. It's like things like that. Or if she picked up an object in the room and it was in her hand and it was on camera, I would have to pick up that object. So in those ways, you're in the scene, but you're also watching the other person being like, am I going to have to match
Don't pick that up.
which is just terrible,
Yeah.
and it brings out really the worst parts of me. I'm a big sister, and so I grew up trying to run the family,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So I tried to keep like the Cookie Monster control freak part of me in check, and
You were right to speak out, because here I am paying attention to the scene, and like
no, it just brings out the worst parts of me. It's like parts that I just wish didn't exist.
Well, the movie's kind of about that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, on that note, thank you everyone for taking part. And
Thank
the
you
film
so
premieres
much.
tonight at
Thank you for coming.
9:30.
9:30 at the SVA Theater.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks
it
for
out.
coming out.
Thank you.
Everybody join me in thanking our panel again, and thank you guys for being such a great audience.
Yeah, thank you.